Aboriginal leaders and opposition politicians in Australia say they are outraged and disappointed over a proposal to appoint the former Prime Minister Tony Abbott as Special Envoy on Indigenous Affairs to the federal government. It's not clear how the new role will work, and some have also questioned Mr. Abbott's track record in handling Indigenous affairs. Well, for more on this issue, I'm joined now from Sydney by the opposition Labour MP Linda Burney, one of 4 Aboriginal politicians elected to Australia's federal parliament and the first female Indigenous politician elected to the lower house. Ms. Burney, thank you so much for joining us. What do you think of this appointment of the former Prime Minister?
The motivation for this appointment is very unclear. People would know that there has been a change of Prime Ministership in Australia, and it was a very bitter, fraught process. And the question has to be asked, has the new Prime Minister created this position of Special Envoy for Indigenous Affairs, which has never been done before? We have no idea what the position means. Has he done it to help Indigenous people, or has he done it to settle down the ructions within the Liberal Party? Because Tony Abbott was one of the main people that was involved in the leadership spill. The other thing, of course, for people to understand is that First Nations people in Australia are the sickest, the most incarcerated, have the shortest life expectancy and the worst outcomes when it comes to health and education. Tony Abbott says that he is going to make education the focus, but his track record in education when he was the Prime Minister is not a good one.
But Ms. Burney, surely having another federal politician overseeing Indigenous affairs could help advance Aboriginal communities. Why not give Mr. Abbott a chance to do his job?
Look, I have no doubt that Mr. Abbott will work hard, and he's very passionate. But the question I raise is, why do we need an envoy? What Aboriginal people are calling for in Australia, and what the Labor Party, the party that I'm part of, supports, is that there should be an Indigenous voice to the Parliament, entrenched in our Constitution. Mr. Abbott and the party that he represents says that they will not entertain that idea. And paternalism does not serve Aboriginal people well. Aboriginal people are calling for self-determination, and that is what is at question here.
So, Ms. Burney, are you going to protest his appointment, and will you be putting pressure on the Prime Minister to retract the appointment of Mr. Abbott?
Well, the Prime Minister has the right to appoint who he wants to. The question is, why an envoy, which has never been done before, and what does it mean within the Liberal Party? Because there is a minister, there is an Aboriginal MP that has responsibility in Aboriginal health, and the way in which those 3 people are going to work together is completely unclear, and the Prime Minister did not consult his own Indigenous advisory group on this appointment. So the motivation for the appointment is in question.
So we'll have to wait and see how this will play out over the next few days and weeks. Thank you so much for joining us. Linda Burney, one of 4 Aboriginal politicians elected to Australia's federal parliament and the first female Indigenous politician elected to the lower house. You're watching Newsday on the BBC, live from Singapore and London.